Want to hear a funny story about my worst first date ever? It's a wild story with a couple of twists you probably won't see coming. Because I sure as heck didn't. Hi, welcome back to the Pixie Art Show. Wait, are we still calling it that? Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I'm Pixie, and I love to draw and tell stories. So that's what I do here. And boy, do I have a crazy story for you today. I guess firstly, I should probably take a minute and talk about what I'm drawing. Like I said in my last video, I'm doing more work with backgrounds, and that's pretty much all this is. Of course, featuring Jamie from the webcomic I'm planning. Now, I know I'm talking about my webcomic a lot, and I'm giving you basically no information, but if I don't talk about it, it'll never really get done, so I'm forcing accountability on myself in the meantime. I'm also super fixated on this project, and beyond excited to eventually get to share it with you guys. So you will probably be hearing a lot about it in the meantime. But of course, that's not what we're focusing on in this video today. You've come here to hear about one of the weirdest and probably grossest first dates I've ever been on. So when I first moved to the city I currently live in, I got a job at a gas station / convenience store. And there was this one guy who used to come in on the regular to get his gas and stuff. I'd seen him a bunch of times, and now of course this is customer service, so I'm generally pretty polite and nice to everybody who comes in. So it's not like he was an exception. Like, I've never once led this guy on. Just putting that out there. And I mean, yeah, I guess I kind of thought he was cute, but like, I didn't really have that interest. And I'm stupid shy, so like, I'm never gonna make the first move if I like somebody. I could barely even talk to people I had crushes on. This just recipe for disaster. As it turns out, however, I didn't have to worry about making the first move. This guy, we'll call him Jerry, he did it for me. I was taking garbage out to the dumpster during an evening shift, and when I turned away from the dumpster to go back inside, Jerry was just standing right behind me. Like, dude jump scared me. And he's holding a piece of paper. He told me it was his number and said that I could text him if I ever wanted to hang out or something. And I was like, oh, neat. That's cool. I'd only ever once really had a guy just randomly give me his number, and that was a really weird, creepy kind of situation that I can probably talk about in another video if you'd like. So this was completely different, and I was actually kind of excited about it. I was also kind of naive and, again, still pretty new to this city I'm living in. I think it might have been my second or third year living here. Now, normally I probably wouldn't have even texted Jerry, but again, I'm new in town, and I don't have any friends at this point. And I thought at the very least, I'll have a new friend I can hang out with, if it turns out that we don't actually like each other that way. No big deal. Should work out fine. Right? Right? Yeah, no. So I texted him, and we set up a date. I don't even think I really considered it a date. To me, it was more just a hangout, get to know you sort of thing. So he came to pick me up. I met him at a baked goods factory that was a little ways away from where I actually lived at the time. I wasn't really comfortable letting this guy know where I lived. So yeah, Jerry picks me up in his car, and we go off to Tim Hortons because, well, I live in Canada. And we get coffees, and we sit down to talk. And it turns out we have barely anything in common. Like, we are both people, we both like coffee. It's almost complete and utter opposites. I'm a huge nerd. Pretty much all of the fandoms that you can think of, I am probably in. Whereas he's into MMA. And he loves to take part in competitive fighting. And that's super cool. Like, genuinely super cool. But it's not really my thing. So we sat in that Tim's for maybe an hour and a half-ish. Talking about not really a lot. And I did feel bad as I didn't have any of the same interests as Jerry. And I found it just super hard to focus on the conversation and contribute to the conversation. Like, I'm bad at that anyway. Like, I can stare you straight in the face while you're talking to me and not hear a single thing you said. It's a bit of a problem. Anyway, so the date, I guess, ends with Jerry taking me back to the factory and dropping me off. And I go off home, assuming that The whole thing is over. We'll go about the rest of our nights, blah, blah, blah. But of course, you came here for a wild story, and I haven't even, none of the crazy has started yet. So I got home, and about maybe 5 to 10 minutes later-ish, Gary's texting me again. You know, he had had so much fun, he wasn't ready to go home yet, and would I like to go for a drive? And now I love driving. I love going for drives. I'm basically a golden retriever. Just put me in the seat, roll down the window, and put on some music, and I'm good to go. So, of course, against my better judgment, I said, sure. And to be fair, up to this point, I was actually enjoying hanging out with him, even with the no things in common. And again, like I said, I mean, I didn't have many friends, so I was all down for having a new friend. The naivety makes me cringe even now. Ugh. So I go back up to the factory to meet him, and we go out driving. And we end up on the other side of the city, because apparently he had to go to his bank, and that was the only place he could go for his bank. Which is hilarious because, again, it's a city, there's multiple different versions, or multiple different branches for each bank. But whatever. So at this point, I am in his car, it's nighttime, and about a 2-hour walk from where I lived. I know that because I've done it before, but I wasn't doing it tonight. So we park, he says he's got to go into his bank for a minute, and he'd be right back. So I sit and wait, and sure enough, he does come back pretty quick. But this is where things took a turn. Because he gets into his car, I turn towards him to, like, say hi, welcome back, and he's looking at me with this manic look in his face, with his hands up like he's trying to calm down a bloodthirsty tiger. And he just says, "Don't hate." And suddenly he's kissing me. Like, I tensed up immediately. Every fiber of my being has turned to steel. And I clamped my mouth shut and locked my jaw. Like, you ain't getting anywhere here, dude. No. And I'm just sitting there completely dumbfounded, with this still pretty much stranger's face smushed into mine. And I'm like, what is even happening? Like, I don't understand. How did you think this was a good idea? I do have to give Jerry props for getting the hint pretty quickly. Because, this felt like it went on for a really long time, but it didn't. And I could actually feel him sag with disappointment because, he's just like, oh no, this was clearly a bad idea. And he backed off of me like he'd been shocked or burned. And I didn't know what to say. I was fully on board with just pretending like the whole thing didn't happen. And I would like to go home now. And Jerry, probably very embarrassed, told me he'd drive me home. And he did. Back to the factory. We barely spoke the entire way back. And I mean, it was about a 5-minute drive, 10-minute drive-ish, no traffic. And I basically just ran from his car all the way back home. Actually, no, I ran to the neighbor's house and hid behind the neighbor's house for him to leave before I went back around to where I actually lived, so he wouldn't see. And I thought that was the end of it. Weird sort of date, really, really awkward, just what even. And I'd probably just never hear from him again. And I mean, I was never going to text him again. Unfortunately, this guy was just getting started. Because a little while after I got home, he started texting again. He never sent photos, thank goodness. That was one thing he did not do. But he did send some pretty explicit text about how hot he thought I was. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about what he said, because not safe for work. I don't want to get kicked off YouTube. But it was the kind of thing that you would text a significant other. You text somebody that you've been in a relationship with for a long time. These are the sorts of things you would say. Not a stranger who you've known for 3 hours. I barely know you. I don't want, nor do I need, to know how excited you are over my supposed hotness. This was the first date. The first date. he skipped so many bases, it's not even fit. Like, dude just tried running for home, and I was like, now you are out. So far out. We're not even the same galaxies. So I don't really remember how I ended up ending that conversation. I think I essentially just ghosted him at that point and just decided I would never hang out with Jerry ever again. Probably never hang out with any dudes ever again, because no, thank you. And for his part, I hardly ever saw him in the store after that. Like it used to be, I'd see him a couple times a week when he'd get gas, maybe more. But after that night, I'd probably see him maybe once or twice every few months, which honestly I was okay with. Anytime he came in after that, I would kind of go at something else so I didn't have to serve him. Because awkward. But yeah, so that was my worst ever first date. I'd like to say I'm happy that that's the worst one I've ever experienced. And I'm just realizing now that I've actually put myself in almost this exact same situation just a few years later. I'll save that one for a different video though. You know, I'm just happy that for the most part I did get out of that pretty well. It didn't go farther. Because it could have been worse, so I lucked out quite a bit. But how about you? Have you ever had a really bad first date? Or just a really bad date in general? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to know. And if you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you just absolutely so much. You are all awesome. I hope to see you again in the next one. I'm not really sure when it's going to be out. I know I said I wanted to do 2 videos a month. We're still seeing how that's going to work or go. But I do have plans, I do have ideas, and I am focusing more on making videos. So it should be soon, hopefully. But yeah, that's it for now. You can check out my other socials, which will be linked down in the description, if I remember. And feel free to check out some of my other videos if you feel like it. And remember to take care of yourselves, take breaks, and I'll see you next time. Bye!